Hi, I am here with Bender.
And I'm here with Sydney, and this is BS Astrology.
What's up, y'all? This is episode 18, and we are going over May 5th to May 11th, 2025. And just a forewarning, we think that this week is going to be a little cranky.
Yeah. We are leaving our very brief period of everything being direct and forward moving. We're getting back into some retrograde stuff. So I hope you made the most of your time up till now.
Yeah, starting new foundations.
Yeah, because now we're all going to kind of tumble backward again.
A little bit of revisit. I mean, it's Pluto. Pluto does go retrograde for a long time. He will be retrograde until October 13th. So this is more about like kind of deeper institutional, like fundamental societal changes and shifts that are happening that need to be revisited, which honestly, because of how much stuff has changed, I'm like, actually, can we go back?
Yeah, right.
Can we get a little redoozy?
A little bit of familiarity would be cool. Betty, do you want to be on camera?
Can you lay down?
Can you go lay down?
Can you lay down?
Go lay down. Betty, go lay down.
Yeah.
You're go good. Lay down.
Good girl.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Well, so
working on
other little highlights for this week. We still have Venus in her shadow period that doesn't clear until May 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Venus is going to be within 3 degrees of sextiling Pluto all week. So things around relationships and money and value and our values entirely will be, there's going to be some intensity, some critical feelings, some deep fundamental shifting and changing that is going to be happening, but it is a sextile, thank goodness, so that's a little bit easier energy to work with.
Gentle transformation.
Yeah. Mercury will be changing signs this week, going from Aries into Taurus. We can expect hopefully some sort of slowing down around the processes. Hi, baby. Jupiter is square the nodes until June. So there is a lot of action around the choices that we make, around goals, laws, higher learning.
Yeah, our learning institutions, I think, are shifting.
Definitely at a critical point. Stuff around legalities and law, we know that is happening. Stuff around immigration, certainly happening right now.
And we've talked about this with the nodes. The nodes are destabilizing, so all of those things are really unstable and very malleable right now.
I think that there's also something to the Pope having passed during this period of time.
Hell yeah.
So, stuff around religion is up for some sort of shift as well. Uranus is still sitting on Algol, and he has been for a minute. And what that can do is kind of create these sudden breaks in terms of like dethroning and beheading our political figures or just prominent people. It beheads is what Algol does. Super fun.
Yeah.
Mars is parallel Uranus all week, which I think is going to bring a little bit of a definitely destabilization to everything Martian, everything around our drives, our desires.
Anything you're trying to pursue right now, it's going to get that straight line is going to get a little wiggly waggly.
Yeah, it definitely feels like unstable ground.
Yep.
Jupiter is still contra parallel Pluto. And this, again, is more about everything to do with religion, immigration, law, legalities, judges, higher learning or learning institutions, all sorts of stuff around that. So there's a kind of rooting out and it's like behind the scenes changes almost kind of happening.
Yep.
Venus is contra parallel Saturn all week. So again, there's still, because Venus is in that retrograde shadow period, like the shadow from that, going over the old territory. Jesus Christ, Mercury in Aries right now is fucking my shit up.
I think you're going to like when Mercury goes into Taurus.
Yeah, that's
it's your Mercury return.
But there's something here still around changes in relationships, endings of relationships, those kind of deep fundamental changes that people have had to make around money, love, finances. I think there's a lot of stuff around our financial system right now.
What are we committing to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Contraparallels work like oppositions behind the scenes. So Mercury and Chiron are within 3 degrees conjunct all week. Spicy. Ouchy.
Watch what you say. Watch what is said to you.
This is words that wound.
Yeah.
I think people have really got to be careful about what comes out of their mouth, because I think the intention will be different than how it lands to a person. And there's a potential to really do some harm with what, and also to do it to yourself too.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Like, check that self-critical voice in your head.
Yeah.
During this week for sure.
And Saturn and Neptune are in contra Antisha all week, so that also works as kind of this weird opposition. I think that there's some sort of like rooting out around like our vision and our dream.
Yeah,
I'm very curious about how this might play out, if only because we do have that Saturn Neptune conjunction happening a few months from now, where it's going to be in that first sign of Aries. Yeah. So it really speaks to, with Saturn being in Pisces, there's some endings here that have to happen in order for this new cycle to begin.
I think it'll be somewhat of a foreshadowing, right?
Could be.
If only, not necessarily in the sense that it'll directly show us what's happening in a few months, but if we can make the connection between endings happening now versus beginnings happening then.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's start with Monday, May 5th.
Woohoo.
The moon is void of course until the afternoon. So just keep that in mind as you go into Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be a slightly slower start.
Yep.
And we're starting, moon is in Leo.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting at 1:45 in the morning. It is making a trine to Chiron in Aries at 24 degrees. Now, this is going to be in the middle of the night. Most of us will still be sleeping and, you know, getting ready for the beginning of the work week. But it's not, I don't know. That one's not bad. It's mostly going to be experienced through the subconscious unless you work nights.
Mm-hmm.
And 3:28 a.m. it brings us into a moon biquintile into Neptune. So I think there's actually a lot of like dream processing going 100%. On to start on Monday. And then it brings us to 6 a.m. when we're actually awake. And we just are coming in hot with a moon square to Uranus and Taurus. So maybe we should start there.
Yeah. So that moon square Uranus is going to be at 26 degrees. Mm-hmm. This is emotional upheaval. I definitely think that there's something about markets and money, food. This could be around food shortages and the awareness of that, certainly just from like a mundane level.
Mm-hmm. And I
just don't I like to wake up like that. It's like you wake up with like cold water splashed on your face and you're just like, oh my God, I got to go and do something. I got to make some
especially with that Uranus and Taurus, it's very much like a tangible, practical kind of like, oh, do I have all my ducks in order? Kind of thing. And and we were talking about this before we were recording, that we've been seeing these transits happening that are directly affecting the market and like our money systems. But it takes some time before you actually start to see the effects of that personally. And so I think as we move through time and as we start hitting more of these transits, it's going to start feeling more personal.
Mm-hmm.
But that moon square Uranus is going to be owie.
Yeah, and I think that energy, because that is a major aspect, is going to hold pretty predominantly for the morning. We get a really not super cute quincunx with Saturn from the moon at 9:22 a.m. and this can bring, feelings of anxiety, feelings of really trying to make the right adjustment in order to like go forward in your day, and it's just not quite cracking.
No.
Foundations
it's rough that it's
unstable.
It's like so shortly after that moon square Uranus, it really just feels like kind of getting like slapped in the face with a reality check and then trying to
make whatever change you have to
moment do. And just not quite meeting the moment.
We get a big one of our bigger aspects for the week, 9:46 a.m. we get Mercury in Aries sextile Jupiter in Gemini. This is at 22 degrees, and all things considered, this should be a pleasant exchange or a pleasant reaching across the aisle saying, hey, you got a lot of ideas. I'm going real fast. Like, let's go on and like.
I love popping off about ideas. It can be playful. Aries and Gemini are playful together.
And social. You know, this is a really almost like a clever exchange of ideas.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think might be an issue about that is because we know that Mercury is so close to Chiron, we need to be very cautious about how fast we're allowing ourselves to go, because we can kind of go overboard, or there could be a little bit too much here.
Or as we know, when Aries is in contact with Chiron, it very well could be just not thinking before you speak, causing harm before you even realize what you've done.
Yeah. And considering that Jupiter and Gemini is not in great condition, like this means that you could really go overboard in saying and doing things either to yourself or others that
motor mouth shit.
Yeah, definitely motor mouth.
Yeah. And then Moon enters Virgo.
Moon enters, tummy ache, anxiety, worry wart, anxious Virgo. So really this continues to speak. That was a very cute yawn.
That was very cute.
That continues to kind of speak that, you know, you kind of did a little bit too much. Now you're maybe reprocessing and renegotiating what you did with yourself.
Yeah. And based on the transits of the whole first part of this day, there may be some reason to have anxiety, right? You may have spoken too quickly, you may have had a hard dose of reality. So really, like, Monday really is just kind of starting with a slap in the face.
It's not great.
It's not great.
The nice thing about Moon in Virgo, though, is that Moon in Virgo loves to make her lists.
Yep.
She loves to figure out,
and loves to fix
things. So she's in a fixing mindset, like, oh, I messed up. Let me make some changes here. And like, let me write down the step-by-step process of how I'm going to go through this. And so there's a little bit more of an analytical way of going forth, a little bit of being able to say, okay, this is actually what's essential and important. The only issue with, well, I mean, there's lots of issues with a moon being in Virgo, but but a critical issue that Moon in Virgo has is not being able to, having the paralysis of analysis. Too many options, so now I can't make a choice. But Moon in Virgo really needs you to make a choice here.
Yeah.
Relax. And I know everybody be chill. Today is dog day. So
okay, Betty, go lay down.
At 3 p.m. So this is after the moon enters Virgo. So now we're in this world. We have the moon doing just a slew of quincunxes, which is not going to feel great. This is still more, it's like anxiety on top of anxiety.
Yeah, and just discomfort that you can't escape.
Yeah.
Just feeling a little ill at ease.
Yeah, we get a quincunx to Neptune, like anxious about the vision. Quincunx to Venus, anxious about the relationships that you're trying to do. Lamont. And then quincunx to Pluto, and this is just anxiety.
Yeah.
Like that is just anxiety. This is
deep anxiety. Yeah, psychological. Yep.
Churning.
Just crap.
So, you know, that's not great. At 9 p.m., we do get a quintile to Jupiter and Gemini, hopefully kind of smoothing out some of the edges.
Yeah, I do think that could be a nice gift where you've just been like ruminating and just like churning in anxiety all day. And I think before bedtime, there is going to be an opportunity to get a little centered with yourself with that quintile.
And maybe it's options have been presented.
Yeah. Quintile to Jupiter and Gemini, I think so.
Options have been presented, and now the Moon Virgo can say, okay, like these things are really on my list, these things are not.
Yeah.
So let's move forward.
Yep.
Tuesday, May 6th is Mars's day. Mars is in Leo. We need to remember that. We I'm like, you just keep looking. I'm like, none of it's great.
Okay, wait. Can I just say one thing about Monday, just to like round it out a little bit? I do think that depending on what's going on in your chart, I will say that Monday is very grounding. There's a lot of good grounding energy. There's that Uranus in Taurus. There's Moon going into Virgo. So I think for the more earthy people, Monday might not feel quite as shitty. But if you're like a very air sign, fire sign centric person, it's going to feel worse.
Yeah, we just have so much fire right now.
Yeah.
Like hopefully that earth can kind of like cool it down.
Yeah.
Muffle it out a little bit.
Yeah, throw some dirt on the bonfire. Yeah. Anyway, so Tuesday, May 6th. Tuesday's not great.
No.
We're starting off 2:24 a.m. Moon in Virgo is sesqui-squaring Mercury in Aries. Which, again, this is going to be mostly during sleepy time. If you're on East Coast, you might just be waking up with this energy, which kind of blows. But
frustration.
Yeah, frustration in communication.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then
this is plans are thwarted.
Yeah. 3:41 a.m. Moon semi-square Mars and Leo. So again, just like confrontation, at odds with your drive versus how you're feeling.
Or something's emerging, right?
Yeah.
Like the semi-sextiles is like there's like a new idea, but you can't.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was a semi-square. It's a semi-sextile.
Yeah, semi-sextile.
Right.
There's like there's something like forming, but you can't quite put a full finger on it yet. It's almost like you're ready to go, but not quite. But I think it will kind of propel people to want to make some changes to do something in the day. 5:29 we get the sun in Taurus, semi-square Neptune in Aries. It's like trying to create like a new vision, a new like root the vision into like some sort of stable place, into something that feels more tangible and real, which that's what Taurus wants. It's like, show me the money, show, put the dirt in my hand, let me give me something to hold on to, whereas Aries is just like fired up. So Taurus is trying to kind of root the vision.
And we're also still in those very, very early degrees of Neptune and Aries.
Yeah.
So we really can't fully see the vision of what's ahead yet.
Yeah.
So therefore the semi-square brings some discomfort. And again, so you're probably going to be waking up with that energy. So there is going to be, like you said, there's going to be some motivation that you're going to wake up with, but it's not going to be the most comfortable.
Yeah.
And then 6:52 a.m. we have a sesqui-square with Chiron and Aries. So again, just like emotional frustration
around your wounds, around whatever, like the sore spots are real sore.
Yeah, like you might get a little triggered.
Yeah.
In the morning.
Yeah, the sore spots feel sore.
I think that even holds with the moon biquintile to Pluto. It's not quite as unpleasant, but that's still kind of like digging into some psychological stuff,
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, moon Pluto contacts, no matter how easy it is to get into them, because like the quintiles and the biquintiles are just like, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's just a little
natural. But there's a depth there that, and probably also an intuition, like a laser, like I can see it. I can put my finger on it. The big aspects are really happening in the afternoon, and I think this is very much almost like a vibe shift. 2:33 p.m. we get Venus in Aries sextile Pluto in Aquarius, the retrograde Pluto in Aquarius, pardon me. And at 5:28 we get Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries. So this period of time has everything to do with like relationships and identity, and the words that you say and the things that you need, like either done for yourself.
And your impulses, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of Aries stuff happening this day because we have the Venus in Aries sextile. And then right after that, there's the Mercury conjunction to Chiron in Aries. So we've got two Aries-centric aspects happening kind of one after the other.
Yeah. And there's something about whenever we have, Venus touching Pluto, or Pluto's asking it to go deeper, and Venus in Aries doesn't really want to. She wants what she wants, and it's her own damn thing. Right. But I think Pluto is asking why.
Yeah. Well, and it's Pluto in Aquarius, so I do think that there's an opportunity here to ask why without having to go into those really deep, painful places.
Yeah.
But there's still going to be the question of why.
Yeah. And there's also, this is revisiting an aspect. I forget when Venus in Aries sextiled a forward motion Pluto in Aquarius, but it did. And I'm curious if there's a revisiting around that time. I should have looked that up, but I didn't. So, oh well.
Do you know roughly when?
Nope, and I'm not gonna look. 5:28 p.m. I know. I'm so good at it. Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries. Again, this is more around words that wound.
Words that wound. I think this is the big, I think, especially because Tuesday is Mars Day, right? Be careful about what you say. Be aware of how people are talking to you.
Yeah.
There could be some inflammatory language that flies around with this.
I mean, if you have the intention of having some sort of conversation perhaps with somebody that is around a wound, you could potentially do some healing stuff here.
Sure.
But I think it's all about the intention.
I think that's always the case with conjunctions, right? Because conjunctions are just all the energy. So it can really go both ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they always say that the conjunction is the most powerful.
Yeah.
And I think it's more because you have the most ability to use the most intention with the conjunction.
Speak wisely.
Speak wisely. Yeah. Go into this day knowing that there are conflicts abound and center yourself. Yeah. I think this is also a great day to look at where Aries is in your chart and really pay attention to that and pay attention to the condition of that house or that planet, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the condition of that and consider how Aries plays a role in your life, because I think Aries is just going to be on fire on Tuesday. But yeah.
6:38 p.m. we get the moon trine the sun. This is a practical earthy trine around getting stuff done. So I think that for a moment, that moon gets to feel like she has accomplished something.
She gets to feel like she's in control.
Maybe she got maybe she got to check something off of her list that felt particularly important. And maybe it's, I had a really hard conversation that I needed to have that was, processing.
Yeah. Or it could be like, I had that conversation, so finally I can move on to what happens after that conversation.
Yeah, because the moon's ruler just had that meeting with Chiron. Hey, baby.
Hey, Betty, you pulled that out from under the bed. I tried to hide it from you. No.
This is going to be our most chaotic episode yet, and I'm just going to leave it all here anyways. 8:10 p.m. we get a biquintile to Mercury and Aries, and I think that this, is being able to have the right kinds of conversations around your feelings, and it's easy in that moment. You had the harder stuff happened earlier in the day.
Yep.
And now there's kind of an ease there.
Yeah. And if you're East Coast, this is going to be later at night.
Yeah.
This is between 8 and 11 p.m. depending on where you are. So it also could just be having those conversations with yourself, sure. Especially with the moon. Just kind of getting grounded with yourself about how those combos went.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Wednesday,
May 7th. Wednesday is Mercury's day. Wednesday is Mercury is still in Aries.
Man, Mercury in Aries is not your favorite.
No, it makes me run too fast. It's been very interesting. It was way better than Mercury being in Pisces, though. I just felt like a mush brain.
Yeah.
I just felt like a walking zombie.
I kind of did too. But like Mercury and Aries, I love fire Mercury.
Well, of course
love
it.
I'm Mercury and Leo. And also, Aries is my first house.
Like, it's great for you.
I'm always like on my shit. I'm very flirty when Mercury is in Aries.
Yeah.
So,
okay, Wednesday, May 7th, we get a whole bunch of, just so you know, pretty uncomfortable aspects all throughout the day. Let's start at that 6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Mars and Leo semi-square Jupiter and Gemini. I think this is a frustration around all of the ways that you've wanted to implement the ideas that you have. Sesqui squares are frustrations.
Yeah.
It's like hitting your head against a wall and it never changes.
Right. And when we're talking about Mars and Leo with Jupiter and Gemini, we're talking about matters of ego. This feels a lot like just like not getting your way. Like other information came into play and you're like, I'm just not going to get my way.
Yeah.
And then it moves us over to 8 a.m. We have a moon quincunx to Mercury in Aries.
Anxiety around speaking your mind.
You could even just be like ruminating about whatever bullshit you dealt with the day before.
Yeah.
Or those, that conversation might not be over yet. And then you still have to revisit elements of it on Wednesday.
I just really don't think that whenever people say that quincunxes are minor aspects, I ask them if they're fucking kidding themselves.
No.
Because I think that they really, really feel like like something is just like grabbing the back of your head, and every time you look, it's not, you're like, I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, it's just that subtle discomfort when you're walking around all day and you're like, nothing's wrong. Why does it feel like everything's
unease
wrong? It's almost worse than when there's an actual reason to be unhappy about something. It's like the being unhappy because of this thing in the back of my head. Yeah. I would say that anybody who says quincunxes are minor aspects probably don't have quincunxes in their chart.
Yeah.
But yeah.
At 8:36 a.m., we get the moon in Virgo square Jupiter in Gemini. This is overthinking, overprocessing, too much.
Yeah. This is a mutable square, so you can never quite, it's all just kind of moving around.
And maybe it's like needing to make a choice, and you're just like, there's too much.
There's too much. God, that's so Virgo and Gemini together. Yeah. They're just like an embarrassment of riches in terms of information.
And moon in Virgo wants you to discern.
Yeah.
And wants you to separate the wheat from the chaff, right? It wants to go, you know what, from all of those ideas, these are the top 3.
Yeah.
And Gemini is like, no, I get all of the ideas. What do you mean best? What do you mean worst?
Yeah.
I just like them all.
Yeah.
So
Gemini is always like, Virgo, you're wasting your time organizing it. Like, it's fine. Just like, look at it all. Yeah. You know,
Gemini, the chaos goblin.
Yeah.
And then let's go on to 12:42 p.m. Moon quincunx Chiron. Again, this is like a poking of whatever that wound was.
Yep.
And needing to make some adjustments, maybe around the conversations that you had.
Yep.
Or some of the ways that you processed. Like, it's not.
Yeah, I would say it's like it's discomfort around processing.
Yeah.
That's where I would get it from, where it's like you have to process, but you don't even, like, you're not even fully in a position to be able to fully process it. Like, you don't have all the information or something, but you still have to process anyway. That's what that quincunx feels like to me.
Yeah. I could get it.
Yeah.
I could that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
5:12 p.m. we get the moon trine Uranus and Taurus, and this can be intuitive. You know, this can, again, it's an earth trine. So there's stuff around matters of physicality or literal earth.
Tangible resources.
Certainly. This could be taking on a new habit, you know, a different way of being in order for you to create a better sense of stability and security for yourself. I mean, I love an earth trine.
Yeah.
Like, really
it's nice.
Yeah, it can be really stabilizing despite the fact that Uranus is in play.
Yeah, it's practical. I've kind of liked the vibes of Uranus and Taurus the last, God, how long has it been now? 8 years that it's been in Taurus? 7 years?
No, shorter than that.
I don't think so. I think it's been 2018.
Maybe.
I think it's been since 2018.
7
years?
164 year cycle. So yeah, maybe 8, 7, somewhere in there.
I'm like positive it was like around 2018. But anyway, either way, I've liked the vibes of Uranus and Taurus because it is kind of, it brings a little bit of excitement to some of our more practical.
It shakes up the mundane.
Yeah.
And I think that there's been a really lovely confrontation for Taurus and all Taurus and Earth placements that say, hey, like, I know that we've been maintaining the status quo, but not all of the status quo needs to be maintained.
Yeah. And some of it's not working.
And it kind of like gives Taurus the ability to kind of shake some of the things off that it really doesn't need anymore.
Exactly.
I mean,
and that's hard for Taurus.
Yeah.
Taurus is like the fixed of the fixed.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that and like Scorpio. No, and all of the fixed signs, they all have their own hell, their own
hoarder mentality.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's pretty great. However, so maybe we take on some sort of new practical habit, make some sort of changes emotionally, even physically. But at 8:40 p.m., we get the moon opposite Saturn in Pisces, and the void, of course, begins. I think we go into this aspect with a depression.
Yeah.
And a pretty hard emotional reality check.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, with it being so mutable, it's like being told that you have to change, maybe.
Yeah, I always think about kind of like the Pisces Virgo axis as the axis
Service and
of
sacrifice.
service, sacrifice, and healing, or healing others. So yeah, I think there's like a sense of sacrifice that invariably comes with oppositions between Pisces and Virgo. Like something has to be sacrificed.
Yeah, you got to give up something, and you have an awareness of what needs to be given up here, and that can certainly cause a bit of depression because it's not what you want it to be. It's
never
what you don't want it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then very late night,
Sun in Taurus, semi-square Venus in Aries.
Yeah, so I think it's so. I think the Sun in Taurus is really trying to invite these planets in Aries to like find their footing.
Yeah.
And it's not. There's something emerging. We're not quite there because it has to do with Venus and Aries, and we know that there's a trine from that Mars later. There's something probably around relationships.
Yeah, and I was going to say I do think it's about relationships, but Taurus and Aries are both very solitary in their own sense. So this feels like a pretty lonely aspect to me. Like it feels like late at night, you're laying in bed and you're feeling very alone in your thoughts or very alone in your experience, or feeling like you've had to give something up that makes you feel very alone. That's kind of that semi-square vibe.
Yep. I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
that's how Wednesday ends.
Yeah, hooray. Like we said, this week is
it's not great.
It's
not. My argument, I don't know if Sid agrees with me, but my argument is that Thursday is going to be the best of the shit week. That's my prediction.
I can mostly be cool with that so long as you go to bed before 11 p.m.
Yeah.
So Thursday, May 8th, we start with the moon entering Libra.
Now that is my natal moon, so maybe I'm biased.
Well, and also we get out of the anxiety space, right? And now we're in the social space. Now we're wanting, we're needing to connect with others. We're needing to, reach across the aisle and say, hey, can we find a middleman here?
Or you could be reaching out to people to process with if there's a lot you're processing, especially that night before. If you found yourself in kind of a lonely space, you're going to wake up the next morning wanting to amend that.
Yeah. I mean, moon in Libra for all purposes is far more pleasant than a moon in Virgo, which, moon in Virgo is like wringing their hands, like, and like moon in Libra is like, I mean, so long as it looks beautiful.
Yeah. But like, can't we just like chill?
Yeah. So, and social. So we get hopefully to a little bit more of a social space.
Now, I will say that moon opposition to Neptune is like 2 hours after moon goes into Libra. It's still in the middle of the night. It's like 2:30 in the morning Pacific time. But moon is going to oppose Neptune. I see that as bad dreams.
I see it as bad dreams, and I also see it as like confusion around relationships because we are in the Aries Libra polarity.
Yep.
Which is
definitely
speaking to the Mars and Venus. So there's some sort of confusion here.
Yeah, there's just like this whole week, I feel like there's something about confusion or like adjustment around our more interpersonal relationships.
Yep.
And conflict around that.
Yep. And also just, feeling maybe disillusioned as well.
Yeah.
3:22 a.m. we get Mercury semi-sextile Uranus and Taurus. This is like trying to speak about whatever like foundations have been kind of shown to us, or there's just a conversation here about being destabilized.
Yeah. A conversation around resources or lack thereof. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's still going to be like, that's like 3:30 in the morning. So we are going to be waking up with some of that energy.
Yeah.
But hopefully you'll be sleeping through the worst of it. But with that said, right about 6 a.m. Pacific, we're waking up with a moon opposition to Venus and Aries. So again, we're talking about that Aries Libra axis.
Talking about relationships. We're talking about issues with women.
Yep.
We're talking about issues around gender.
Yep.
Definitely issues with like the women or female figures or feminine energy in our life potentially.
And on the macro level, I think it's easy to see where that's coming into play.
Yeah, we don't even need to get into that because, like, oh God.
But also maybe think about how like patriarchy and feminine energy has played a role in your life personally, because I think it will be in play today.
Yeah. 7:48 a.m. This is the moon in Libra, trine Pluto in Aquarius. The ability to go a little bit deeper than the surface air stuff.
Yeah.
It's social.
Mm-hmm. It's like as deep as air can get because it's Pluto.
Yeah.
Not saying that's super deep, but
right. I mean, Pluto is
intellectual conversations. I do think that this is a great time to have like a really intellectual, meaty conversation
about what you're feeling.
Yeah, even if you're not like making that emotional connection necessarily, like you're not like crying on somebody's shoulder, but you're definitely like, man, this is what I've been thinking about with this, and really getting into that intellectual level of processing emotions.
Yeah, and there's maybe also a little bit of catharsis too, right? Because Pluto can do that as well. It's about elimination.
Right.
So maybe it's, the ability to release some of the unhealthy attachments around codependency, which a moon in Libra potentially has issues with sometimes.
Potentially a problem. And this is why I think Thursday is potentially the most pleasant day of the week, because I do think there's a lot of social opportunities to find people to process with, and it's not quite so confrontational that you're not risking getting into a fight with anybody. It could be a really good time to reach out to somebody to process your feelings with.
Okay.
That's my argument.
That's your thesis?
That's my thesis on Thursday. My Thursday thesis. And look, it's reinforced by 3:41 p.m. Moon sextile Mars in Leo. Libra and Leo love hanging out. It's nice.
It's also like artistic. It's very creative. It's definitely social.
A little egocentric, maybe.
Yeah, or
sort of like it can be superficial, right? It's very much about appearances. Yeah. And what looks nice.
Libra and Leo together remind me of like gaudy, like Rococo.
I love that.
Like that's what Leo and Libra are to me.
It really is.
It's very like Bridgerton, like but Rococo, like extra over the top. It's like confectioner's cake.
Yeah, I was gonna say it actually kind of reminds me of like Long Island. Like Long Island,
like Jersey nails,
waspy moms. Yeah, you ever seen Long Island Medium with the big hair? I love Teresa Caputo. Teresa, we're looking at you.
She's amazing.
I think she's got a lot of Capricorn in her chart, though. Actually,
that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
but in any case, that is a pretty pleasant getting stuff. Also, just getting stuff done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your needs and your desires are now working together, and they want a confectioner's cake.
And they want to make things pretty. If you need to like beautify a space in your house, this is the moment to do it.
6:52 p.m. we get the moon by quintile sun. Pleasant, social.
Yeah, it's nice. That's what I'm saying. Like Thursday's social.
Okay.
Thursdays,
until 11:31 p.m. we get the moon sesame square Uranus and Taurus.
Just go to bed early.
This is just like in some sort of emotional frustration, feeling really knocked off kilter in some sort of way. So just go to bed.
Maybe we kept things too surface level on Thursday, and then by the end of the night you're like, there's something I didn't deal with. Yeah. But
as a Taurus, I always recommend just laying down. When things are bad, just lay down.
Just lay down. Take a nap.
Yeah.
Take a nap.
Okay. We're cooking with grease now. We're going to go into Friday, May 9th. We have a lot, like very few aspects. And this one, the afternoon, like literally just the afternoon though, is probably okay.
Yeah. Well, the good news is there's some uncomfortable stuff, but it's all before 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? We've got Mercury in Aries, semi-sexiling Saturn in Pisces, which isn't the worst, but there is some discomfort around
foundations.
Around like wanting to communicate about your foundations. or what kind of structures.
Well, and also has to do with endings and beginnings, right? Mercury
Mm-hmm.
and Aries having to do with beginnings, Saturn and Pisces having to do with endings. Mm-hmm. Like there's something emerging here, something's being let go of, something's starting anew, but it isn't quite fully formed yet. Like the semi-sextile is that.
Yeah.
Like it's the root almost spurting into a bud through the dirt. You know, it's just like right there.
Yeah.
But it's not quite.
You're still watering it.
Yeah.
Still watering that root. But again, that's still at just shy of 5 a.m.
Yep.
You'll probably be heading to work if you're East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And then 7 a.m. Pacific, there's a moon quincunx to the sun in Taurus.
And this has to, I think that this specifically has to do with our values and relationships, because both of these planets, the moon and the sun, are ruled by that Venus in Aries.
Yep.
Maybe we've gone it alone too much. And now we are realizing that we actually do need help. And we actually do need, connection and communication.
We need each other.
Yeah, that some codependency is actually okay, because like the Libra is like all about like you and me and us, and like Taurus is like
nah. Taurus is I think there is a part of Taurus that is afraid of relying on people.
Oh, 100%.
that relying on other people will actually make them more unstable, more insecure.
I mean, it's a security-based sign, so if other people don't prove themselves to be secure, why would I?
Yeah. The Taurus over here is like, duh.
Yeah. Security-minded always, even if that means that you have to be alone.
The Taurus who's in an incredibly healthy long-term relationship.
Yeah. Pretty lucky.
But it's a nice fuel for thought. If you're ever just pontificating about the nature of Venus and the distinct difference between Libra and Taurus in that sense, in terms of love and connection with others versus love of self.
Self-love. There's an adjustment and it needs to be made here because of the quincunx. And then 4:02 p.m. and 5:48, we get the moon doing a quintile to Mars and a biquintile to Uranus.
Which is nice.
I think it's nice. I think it's action-oriented. Yeah. I think it's a little like stimulating.
Productive.
I think that
could be kind of sexy.
Yeah, just kind of like there's a little new fresh energy injection happening in that day, which is kind of pleasant going into that Friday evening. But at 8:48 p.m. we get the moon opposite Mercury again. Moon in Libra, Mercury in Aries. This brings up the relationship stuff again,
relationship conversations in this case, right? Because of Mercury. So there could be a tough conversation that you have to have, a little lover's quarrel right as you're getting ready for bed, because it's going to be just before 9 p.m.
And we have to remember that Mercury is very close to Chiron, so that means that moon is going to be Chiron
triggering
very, very soon.
So there probably is going to be a lover's quarrel, and somebody's going to say something to hurt another person's feelings.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're correct.
Yeah.
9:18 p.m. Moon in Libra, trine Jupiter and Gemini. This is social.
Yeah.
This is connecting. This is pleasant. Like if you're gonna go out and have a couple of drinks with your friends and sing some karaoke, this is the time to do it. The void of course begins. So you're not starting new things. You're just taking time to kind of chill out and take it easy.
Yeah, it's Friday night.
Yeah,
definitely. Like it's a good night to go out and just enjoy time with your friends.
Yep, but get your ass home before 1 a.m.
Yep,
that's what I'm gonna say. Saturday, May 10th. We're going to Saturday, May 10th. We start that morning, 1:26 a.m. Moon in Libra, opposite Chiron and Aries. Again, relationships, wounds.
If there was ever a night to get into a drunken quarrel with your lover or your friend,
don't text your ex.
Yeah, definitely don't text your ex this night. And the weather is going to be ripe for that kind of thing, where if you're drinking, you're probably going to want to do that because your wounds are going to be more on the surface with vulnerable. That Chiron and Aries. Yeah.
And that holds for a number of hours. At 5:15 a.m. now we get Mercury going into Taurus. And I kind of see it as this. Mercury has put its foot in its mouth, has said so many things that it shouldn't have said. It has spoken far too fast.
Has also just spouted out a zillion different ideas and thoughts.
And then Mercury in Taurus, like it goes into Taurus and it's like, actually, now I need to actually like be real about this. I need to be a little bit more practical.
Slow the fuck down.
I need to literally slow down. I have done too much. I've really been running the races and I need to create some sort of foundation here that I can work off of. Mercury in Taurus doesn't have any real dignities until I think it hits like one of the bounds maybe, but it's not here. And so he's feeling kind of out of water here. He's peregrine, right? He's just like, I'm a stranger in a strange land. I fucked up in that other land and now I'm here.
Yeah, the nature of Mercury is to be curious and to just be kind of taking new ideas and playing with them. Again, Taurus values stability and predictability and familiarity.
I think, therefore I am.
Yes.
I don't need to think anything else. I don't need to be curious about other things.
And that's not the nature of Mercury. So I think there is a little bit of discomfort with Mercury and Taurus. With that said, I actually really enjoy people with natal Mercury and Taurus because I see a lot of thoughtfulness in how they communicate. This is not a person who's going to speak impulsively.
Yeah, it can be a little bit more reserved and definitely is thinking like, is this real? Is what I'm thinking real?
Yeah. Also, Mercury and Taurus is the ultimate placement to me of the person where if you say something stupid, they won't tell you that what you said is stupid, but they'll just kind of give you a look. It's just like a side eye. King of the side eyes. But anyway, so that's the nature of Mercury and Taurus. I don't hate it.
We don't hate it. However, once Mercury goes into Taurus, we have Mercury now within 3 degrees of a fixed square to Pluto.
Yeah.
So this brings some sort of crisis and needing to take some sort of action and changing the way that we've been thinking in Taurus, right? About our security, about our stability, about survival issues, perhaps as well. And we're being forced to make some sort of change here. It doesn't feel great.
No. And as soon as Mercury goes into Taurus,
it's critical.
It's we're at a critical point. There's definitely some stuff coming to the surface, and even just these more minor aspects that come one right after the other on this morning of Saturday, they're all quincunxes. We have moon quincunx Uranus, moon quincunx Saturn. Immediately just a lot of confronting discomfort, emotional discomfort. Moon is still in Libra, so we're still talking about like discomfort around our relationships.
Moon is also in the path of fire right now too. Being from 16 Libra to 16 Scorpio. So it's dangerous waters to traverse.
Yep.
And, we, in having that quincunx to Saturn, I think this was going to bring a sense of like deep insecurity, especially around our relationships and maybe around the endings that we have decided upon. 12:58 p.m. though, Moon enters Scorpio.
Which...
She's in her fall.
We love. We love Moon in Scorpio.
It never bodes well in my chart for transits, but
me either.
Yeah, it's just, but Moon in Scorpio, this is a churning, rage-filled, angry, very complex, very, very, very complex,
very withholding,
protective, deeply
protective, private, secretive,
hey, baby.
Manipulative,
can be,
sometimes manipulative to itself, so this is Moon in Scorpio, and it's in a very uncomfortable place, and again, just so many quincunxes.
It's just so intense. Like we're in the most intense moon sign.
Yeah.
And we have intensity hitting by quincunx Neptune and Venus, the vision and relationship planets.
All our love feelings are now under the guise of Scorpio, and
intense scrutiny.
Yeah. Intense scrutiny, and like possessiveness, right? Kind of like all of the things that they tell you are unhealthy about love. Moon in Scorpio is going to bring it.
Yeah.
So hypercritical, penetrating in ways that maybe you didn't consent to.
Listen, a Moon in Scorpio would love to wear their lover's skin.
Yeah.
Venus in Scorpio would, listen.
I've actually dated people with those Scorpio placements where they have literally said to me, like, I wish I could just crawl into your body and live there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Scorpio.
That's real.
And they meant it.
Yeah. So at 8:43 p.m., we have the moon in Scorpio square Pluto in Aquarius, and this is just the depths, psychological depths, like all of the psychological depths.
Mm-hmm.
It's water, and it's water and fixed air. It's all.
Mm-hmm.
That fixed square, I think, is probably one of the harder aspects for the moon.
I agree.
For the whole week.
Mm-hmm.
Just throws you into turmoil.
Yeah.
And then we are going to get the moon in Scorpio by quintile Saturn and Pisces. So this is with water signs. There's like an intuitiveness that kind of comes, maybe almost like a balm, like Saturn kind of calms things down, or like puts some sort of block.
Yeah.
Or a limit.
I agree. Almost like a self-imposed limit. It's a biquintile, so it's creatively trying to figure out where those limits need to be.
Boundaries.
Which is really good for Scorpio. That's like more than anything, moon in Scorpio needs boundaries, which is kind of funny because I wouldn't normally necessarily think of Saturn and Pisces as like the best boundary setter.
I mean, it's not.
It's not. But I think that between these two, there's definitely, I would say a bomb is the best way to put it, where at least that conversation is starting to happen. Yeah,
something gets a little bit calmed down.
Yeah.
And then we have Mercury in Taurus, semi-sextile, Neptune in Aries.
Yeah.
Again, something's emerging.
It's an ongoing conversation.
About the dream that we, like, whenever I think of Neptune in Aries, I think about the like glorification of being a pioneer.
Yeah. Or like the glorification of like war heroes.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Or,
I'm still very much anticipating Neptune and Aries to be a very war-filled era. That's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on right now.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also Mercury in Taurus is, literally talking or conversing about money.
Mm-hmm.
It can be talking about, this is the practical thing, and Neptune and Aries is like practicality. Yeah. I don't know her. No. Mercury and Taurus is like, I need you to come down to earth, and like Neptune is so far away.
Yeah, Neptune is far away and like quickly getting further away because it's an Aries. It's like, I'm out, Yeah. I think that maybe there could be a moment of coming to terms with what we haven't properly prepared for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
we do become very security minded.
Yeah.
So I like how you put that. That's really great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so last day, Sunday, May 11th.
We made it through the week.
We did. 3:39 a.m. We have the moon in Scorpio by quintile Neptune.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Girdle, both ruled by Mars. I think that this biquintile is actually kind of intense and weird. I think it really has to do with like our deepest drives and desires and passions. I think it's impassioned, and it's not entirely. I think it's a little delulu.
I was going to say it's not realistic. It's like like you said, we have these ideas of what's motivating us or what we want to drive ourselves toward, but it's not in a realistic place right now.
Yeah.
It's very much like putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, there's definitely some dream stuff happening here. And I think it could also be with Mars and Leo. It all has to do with ego.
Mm-hmm.
It also has to do with like drama. I think this is very entirely dramatic. I mean, Scorpio is also very dramatic.
Yeah, it is.
Internally so, though. You would never know.
Yeah. It's definitely like like Leo. Yeah, Leo is obviously like very performative, but Scorpio is the kind of energy where it's like, the way I like to think of the dramatic nature of Scorpio is like, if Scorpio were obsessed with somebody, they're going to wait till you're sleeping and they're going to like pluck a hair off of your head and then do some weird voodoo like witch shit with it later. Right?
It's a laser.
Yeah. Like obviously that's very dramatic, but nobody knows.
Yeah. 3:46 a.m. we get the moon sesquisquare Jupiter Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely feeling too much and also like thinking about it too much. There is like again more of that churning. There's a frustration around all of the potentially like very dramatic, intense ideas that you have. And then 4:37 a.m. Moon square Mars.
This more of the dramatique, right?
Yeah, anger.
Yeah, dramatic anger.
Just anger.
Yep.
7:04 a.m. Moon.
If you're East Coast, you're waking up with that angry energy, by the way.
Moon by quintile Venus. Again, having to do with martial things because it's in girdle. That means they're both ruled by that Mars. So it has to do with their drives and desires.
Right.
And it's just easy to be in that space. I think it's just like needing and wanting.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
it's just like you're in a very Martian emotional state.
Mars likes to cut.
Yep, sure does.
We have, and that holds for so much of the day until 3:56 p.m. We get the moon sesqui square Saturn in Pisces,
which just feels yucky.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
Just gross.
Just like emotional anxiety that you can't move past, that you're just kind of stuck within.
I feel like it feels like you're damp and you can't get fully dry. Ugh. You know, have you ever had that thing where like the towel won't fully absorb and then you're just like
like you have one of those really crappy like microfiber towels.
And then you're just angry. That's what I think that.
And it's a really humid day, so even when you like get out of the bathroom, you're still not dry. Again.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, that's
that's
a really great way to think about it.
10:11 p.m. we have Mercury and Taurus semi-sextile Venus and Aries. So again, that Taurus and Aries semi-sextile, there's something emerging here. There's something about our ideas and our intuition trying to find some sort of reality or some stability.
Yeah. Our personal value system, kind of that internal conversation. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't have to feel, semi-sextiles don't have to feel uncomfortable, but it's definitely not fully formed yet.
Yeah.
That's all that is. And then Moon sesqui square Neptune in Aries. I think this is absolutely confused.
Yeah.
And frustrated.
Confused about where to start or where to, what your launching point is.
It's like you need something and you don't know exactly what it is, but you're still acting anyways. Both ruled by Mars, has to do with our drives and our desires and our passions.
Yeah.
And like just can't.
I think it can very much feel like you're just having to throw things at a wall and see what sticks because you just can't tell what's going to stick.
Yeah.
And that's
9:59 p.m. Moon by quintile Jupiter and Gemini, I think, potentially could lighten up the mood ever so slightly. Yeah. It's almost like a dark joke.
I was going to say, it's still Moon in Scorpio, right? So it could lighten it up. Yeah, a little bit of black comedy.
Yeah. Really, really good at telling the right joke to get what you're feeling across, kind of thing. I think if I were to see like the Moon in Scorpio by quintile Jupiter Gemini in a natal chart, I'd be very interested to know about like.
They probably would have a great sense of humor.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's super black comedy.
I was like, who has a lot of Scorpio placements is what's his name? Charlie Chaplin. Which it's very like slapsticky, which I think is actually kind of surprising.
He seemed also very aware of the realities of the world and how bleak it was, and still like thumbed his nose at it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the vibe, right? It's the person who can really see the bright side of a dark situation. I think there is potential in that, and just being able to make humor of kind of the darkest things in life.
And it's like Scorpio is complexity and Gemini is multiplicity. So it's just very rich with data that by quintile to be able to do something with it, to make it into something. And then last thing before we go into the next day is Venus and Aries trine Mars and Leo. So
which is really nice.
And it's like why we know. It's one of the ways that we know that this week has been all about relationships. And it's not just like one-to-one romantic friendship relationships. This is also probably having to do with like trade.
Yeah.
Everything to do with how our
business partnerships.
Every partnership that possible has been being worked on in these little finicky up ways, frustrating, hurtful, healing,
and just all the ways that we see ourselves reflected in each other, right? Even just like in the grander philosophical sense of the ways in which we mirror each other.
Yeah, and now there's like this really lovely intuitive trine that eventually, hopefully, is helping us kind of find some sort of stability in those relationships. And I say that because Mars and Leo would be ruled by that Sun in Taurus happening. Venus and Aries is ruled by that Mars and Leo. So like there's something there about that. But it's almost like at the end of the week, it's like, thank God we got through it.
Yeah. It's almost poetic. Yeah. It's almost poetic.
Like, I'm so glad we went through this because now we're here.
Because now we're here. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So that is, that's episode 18.
That's episode 18. And I think that like keep that last little aspect in mind, because I think that's where we're going to want to pick up from next episode.
No, thank you. Okay. We should sign off. Okay. All right. Schedule readings with us. And Bender's going to be launching a new website soon. And
put the pressure on.
Yeah. And you can schedule with me online, and that card will be up. And hope you all take good care of yourselves, and see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.